This is the Jerusalem Post podcast travel edition. Coming up.
Very rarely they'll imprison them and keep them alive in case they need to replace their current queen.
The local community, at that point we thought it was 40 Jews. We were thinking about a cemetery, and that was basically it.
Taste that coffee can offer. Just there to try something different.
So sit back and enjoy the trip with Mark Gordon and David Harris.
David.
Yes, Mark.
David.
Yes, Mark.
David.
David.
Oh, are we going all Hebrew now?
We're going all Spanish.
Everywhere I look, I can see David. It's like my worst nightmare.
When we were told we were landing at the main airport for this tourist area we're in, a place with lots of high adrenaline, high action adventures, almost like the Queensland, New Zealand of Panama, I saw the name David in big letters on the map.
But the one disappointment when you arrive at David Airport in David, there's no sign that says David.
I wanted the photo.
But everywhere else, it says David.
We are in the centre of Panama.
Yes.
We're actually towards the west.
Yes, we're not really in the centre at all.
We're west.
We're almost near Costa Rica.
It's a very strange shaped country. It was described by one of our guides as being S-shaped.
On its side. It's like
Yes.
an S on its side.
And we've landed in David, as Mark said, and we're headed about an hour from the airport into the mountainous area. David and its surroundings, fairly flat. We just noticed that there's interesting driving customs in this part of the world, as Mark just crossed himself, or did a Magen David?
I didn't cross myself. I put my hand up to protect my head from the car that was hurtling towards us.
Notice it was a taxi. The same wherever you are in
Yes.
the world. So what are we going to be doing over the next 48 hours in this part of the country?
We are going to an area called Boquete. It's great for all sorts of hikes into the rainforest. You can zip wire, you can go on hanging bridges, and we're doing absolutely none of that.
Thank the Lord. We're doing butterflies.
Yes, because the kosher food in Panama is so good, I have now tipped the scales at just above the weight limit for all of these things like hanging bridges and zip lines. So we're going on gentle inclines to see butterflies, to see quetzal birds, to see bees, you name it.
Coffee.
Yes, please.
Coffee is a major product of this country. We're hopefully going to be finding out what geisha coffee is. Is it pronounced geisha or geisha?
I don't know, we'll find out, but it's a coffee bean in a kimono.
It certainly sounds that way, doesn't it? Why don't we enter this podcast the normal way that we do, with a podcast question?
The question for this podcast, David mentioned coffee. There is a famous composer who was obsessed with coffee to the point where he would have to count out individually each one of the 60 coffee beans that made up his coffee. Who was that composer?
The answer at the end of the coffee podcast.
This is Mark Gordon from the Jerusalem Post podcast travel edition. Find us on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter at MarkDavidPod, or mail us at markdavidpod@gmail.com.
We spent about 50 minutes to an hour in the vehicle with our driver and our tour guide, and we were headed farther and farther away from the flatlands and into the mountains. When I say mountains, we're talking really high hills, and towering above all, off to our left, a volcano.
Yeah, we are heading up around 7,000 feet into the cleaner, more countrified air. Is that the word? Countrified? Countrified is a good word, even if it's not a word.
Bucolic.
I'm just going to say bucolic and sound smart, but you've outsmarted me. And even here, in Boquete, in the countryside, there's a Jewish story to tell.
It is quite staggering where kosher can exist. We are really, in terms of the Jewish world, in the middle of nowhere. We're in a tropical cloud forest, I believe it's called, and we just went down this beautiful country lane round the corner from the apartment where we're staying, and there's a sign that says Morton's.
More about Morton's later in the podcast, but on the way here, before I had my delightful lox bagel and David had some beautiful avocado toast, we stopped at a visitor centre just on a little precipice overlooking the valley.
Oh, precipice.
I know, well, you stole bucolic from me, even though I was going to steal it from you. And we saw vultures.
Are we talking about the feathered type or the type that...
No, it was a group of bankers. David was able to take some pictures of vultures, insects that I've never seen before. We're now off up into the mountains to go on a trail and drink a little bit of coffee. More later.
Discover the future with Inside Israeli Innovation. I'm Eve Young from the Jerusalem Post, bringing you exclusive insights from Israel's top innovators. Each week, we dive into the latest trends in tech, business, and beyond with interviews from the brightest minds in the industry. Whether it's cutting-edge startups or revolutionary tech breakthroughs, Inside Israeli Innovation is your front row seat to the startup nation. Subscribe now on your favorite podcast platform and stay ahead of the curve. Inside Israeli Innovation, where innovation meets inspiration.
Not far away from Boquete is a stunning walk. The whole thing is 2.5 miles or so. If you go all the way to the top, we did about a third of it. It's called the Pipeline Trail. It's in a tropical cloud forest, and if you can imagine the most colourful flowers that you might have in your backyard, if you can imagine the tallest trees that might be in your neighbourhood, if you can imagine the largest ferns that you've seen, and multiply them by incredible intensities of colour, of size, of richness, and indeed of the taste of watercress, this is the Pipeline Trail.
If you look carefully, you can see the quetzal bird, you can see butterflies, at night you can see pumas, and I even saw a croc on the trail.
You didn't.
I did. It was plastic and made in China.
More after the break. Have you listened to the Jerusalem Post podcast travel edition? I'm David Harris, and together with my co-host Mark Gordon, we bring you the best from the world of travel and tourism.
We have people who literally fly to Park City just to do the ski minion.
And it has that heavenly taste that you don't really find nowadays in the market.
When was the last time you went to a restaurant and they bought you a picnic basket, about 8 courses in?
The Dracula tour, that's a very unusual honeymoon option, really.
The Jerusalem Post podcast travel edition brings you the joys of travel and tourism. So why not subscribe today wherever you get your podcasts?
Cheers, Mark.
Cheers, David.
Oh.
We've left the bridge and we've climbed up to 1,800 metres. We're near the top of the volcano. The views are just stunning. But one little fact I missed out is that we got a lift up the last 1,000 metres to see this beautiful, stunning view. Where are we, David?
We are still in the region of Boquete, and all of this podcast will be coming from this region. So we've done the pipeline walk, and now we're doing coffee. So to tell us a lot more about it than we could ever tell you, because we don't know anything about coffee, we have an expert. Can you introduce yourself to our audience, please?
Of course. My name is Eliseo Miranda. I work here in La Mastos Family Estates, and we are at La Torre. This is our first geisha lot that we had in history, and this is one of the best lots of coffee we have.
There's a lot to unpick there for amateurs like me. Firstly, who or what is La Mastos?
La Mastos is a family estate where we have different farms, and this is the main farm, the biggest and the oldest one. We have a century producing coffee, starting from the 2000s, the geisha.
I have no idea what geisha is, other than the obvious geisha is a Japanese word, but you're going to tell me it isn't.
The correct word would be geisha. That's the name of the area where we extracted this variety 60 years ago. It's coming from the natural environment of coffee, from the mountains of Ethiopia. And it's a variety that produce fewer quantities of berries, but usually with higher density of sugars that create more complex flavors in the coffee.
You just said something very interesting. You said berries. What is coffee?
That is an interesting question. We call them beans, but there are no beans. There are seeds. The word we use to describe the whole fruit is cherry, because cherries are also a stone fruit. But it's neither cherries, neither grapes. It's a coffee.
While we were on our long hike to the top of this... while we were given a lift to the top of the mountain, you were telling us the fascinating story of how coffee was discovered, how someone took a fruit and made the wonderful drink that is coffee. Can you tell our audience who and how was coffee discovered?
Information with historic value we don't have. We have only legends, histories. So coffee can be rooted all the way back to Ethiopia. So that's where coffee originates, in mountain forests in altitudes. Very similar to the forest we are stepping in now. Coffee was discovered by shepherds that had goats, and these goats would eat from these red fruits in bushes. And people discovered that when the goats ate from coffee, they would go hyperactive and start running around and jumping. So this caught the attention of the shepherds, and after, people started tasting the fruits. And it's after, when coffee travels by trade, the dried fruits, to Yemen, that Sufi monks living in monasteries, they try the coffee and by accident they roast it. And they created a proto version of a Turkish coffee. Turks would take them to Europe by trade. And also the Europeans were the first one to take the coffee outside of the natural environment and started planting it in different places like Indonesia or America.
Let's just walk across this track that we hiked up or drove up, and I'd like you to just show us what we're looking at on a coffee bush. Right now there are no fruit where we are particularly, but I think I can see the shoots, and maybe there's one or two cherries over there. So
we are in the last part of the harvest. We have a number of fruits still on the tree, and we had already the first rains of the year. So the coffee has flower, and this that we are seeing here is the dried flowers. From here, the flower has been pollinated, and now we are gonna have from these same spots the harvest from the next year.
Over the last 4.5 years, David and I have been to wineries, distilleries, meaderies, and there's a similarity, a process, high quality products. There is a care and attention about taking a really, really special raw material and turning it into a beautiful end product. And it's no different here on the coffee plantation.
Numerous times as we've been going around since we came down to the processing area, we've had the comparison to winemaking. We talked about fermentation. We've talked about the sorting of coffee beans. Just talk us through a few of the things, of the many that happen between picking and when you pack these things off to be roasted.
So we have many sortings. Some at the beginning when we are harvesting, we need to collect only the fruit at the ripest point where it has most of the sugars and when they are making the flavor complex. Also, when we have processed this coffee dried and this has been rested, we need to peel it, and after we are going to have to classify the beans to have equal roasting and only select the best beans. So we are going to have size classification by density also. So the bigger and denser beans are the best, and then we have to look at the nutrition of the bean. Some of the beans are going to be hollow in sugars, so we need to separate them. Last classification by hand, and they are taking out broken beans during the process, beans that are small or they have been pierced by bugs.
As we walk around the processing areas and the factory, there are beautiful sweet smells. What I'm not smelling is the smell of roasted coffee. What's the actual end product of the Lamastas family estate?
We dedicate to the exportation of coffee. Most of the places that drink the most of the coffee, they don't produce coffee, so we provide the best beans to them, and our buyers are roasters that can give it the final finish. We provide them the coffee sorted in vacuum sealed but raw, That way we can preserve it for longer, and the roaster can give them the profile that their clients are used to.
To where do you export the coffee?
Most of the buyers of geisha are Asians that are from Japan, South Korea, China, and Taiwan also. And we also sell coffee in Europe and countries in the Middle East and North America.
Do your buyers purchase remotely, or do they come over here to try the coffee?
Well, mostly they are going to try to come here to test with us, and they are going to select here the coffees they want to purchase. And after that, we are going to send them the coffee when it's already processed.
So I think it would be a very good idea if we follow suit and sample the coffee.
Sure, let's go.
As promised, finally, and yes, it's time for you to be jealous yet again of Mark and myself, it's the tasting room.
Now we are going to cup. Cupping is more than tasting. Cupping is a way to evaluate coffee in all of its spectrum of scents and flavors.
When you say cupping, what does that mean? Obviously, it's from the word cup.
We are going to drink coffee in a different way than usual. In cupping, we're going to leave the grounds inside. So we are going to see how the coffee evolves over time. In cupping, we can also find defects if they were, and we can locate the root of those defects and work them in the processing. If there are no defects, we can look at the attributes of each coffee, and we can compare them with other samples.
Everything you're saying sounds like I'm in a winery. Sounds very similar, or am I insulting you by saying that?
No, not at all. Wine is an older culture of beverage, and coffee as a newer one has assimilated a lot of wine production. For example, the Wheel of Flavors is inspired in one of the wines that precedes this one. We have 6 samples here, 5 of coffee and 1 of the host of coffee that we're going to taste. On this side we have Katuai, that is a more traditional variety in all the 3 process, and we have Geisha, that is a more exotic variety. So we are going to compare each one.
When you go wine tasting or whiskey tasting, you have to rinse your mouth each time so you get a fresh taste. Is it the same for coffee as well?
Coffee is a little mild in its flavors compared to whiskey or wine. We can drink water in between, but it's not necessary. We can use coffee to wash the previous one.
So let's do one of the samples first, and then we'll put the tape recorder away, we'll carry on, and then we'll come back at the end.
Here we have a Katuai wash. This is the most similar to a traditional cup of black coffee. So this is going to be the most familiar to you. So first we are going to grind these samples, and we are going to smell them dry, that would be the fragrance, and then wet, that would be the aroma. And then after it's extracted, we are going to taste it with spoons. The fragrance is all over. We can smell it.
Wow. Mark, put your nose in there. 9 minutes have passed since the hot water at 92 degrees was added. We don't want to go over 95. And exactly at 9 minutes, Mark is about to try, with a spoon, the Katuai washed.
There goes the alarm. Oh, that is just smooth and flavoursome. It's just subtle. It's beautiful. David, come and have some.
Okay, so I'm going to have a go, and I'm going to also try the Katuai washed. I've taken a brand new or cleaned spoon out of boiling water. I'm now going to dip into the Katuai washed. I'm going to take from the same one that Mark just dripped back into. I'm going to be more of a gentleman and taking over to the place where there is a cloth for dripping. I like that. When we were doing the sniffing, we've tried the scent of 6 coffees, 5 with the beans, 1 with the husks, and I liked this first one, the Katuai washed. What we're going to do now is turn off the microphone. We're going to taste all the others, and we'll do a quick summation and a thank you to our amazing guide. Six tastings later, I knew when to stop. Mark is having a caffeine rush, aren't you?
I am. I'm thinking about spoons at the moment. I'm holding a spoon, and we talk about spoons on our podcast way too much.
And you actually lost that spoon a minute ago. How do you lose a spoon on a table?
I didn't lose it. I was trying to take it.
We've tried 6 different varieties of coffee, tastes of coffee. Did you get a favourite?
Yes. And then I went round in a different direction, and then I had a different favourite. And then I had the cascara, which is almost, it's like a tea, it's not a coffee. It's an infusion from the fruits of the coffee beans. And that became my favourite. And then as I worked my way down, I finally come to the conclusion the natural geisha coffee is my favourite.
So you're a geisha boy?
How dare you?
What do you want visitors to take away with them? Obviously, the main business is not the visitor centre. The main business is those 50-kilogram sacks, and I'm just noticing we're getting the afternoon tropical rain has just started behind you. But when visitors come here, what do you want them to experience?
We have usually a prejudice about coffee. How should coffee be? And then we get it from what we are used to from the industry. And it's this bitter, strong flavor of coffee. And if we don't get it, we don't think that we are trying coffee. But here we have coffee in all of the spectrum of flavors. I just invite you to taste with us and to see the whole profile that coffee can offer. Just there to try something different.
How do visitors who are coming to Panama get to taste La Mastas Estates coffee?
I invite you to come here to do a tour as you have done, and I hope you had fun.
It was amazing.
I'm glad to taste coffee with us so we can expand your horizons.
Is there a website where people can get the details?
Yes, there is. lamastusfamilyestates.com.
And La Mastus is spelled Lamastus. Thank you for an amazing afternoon. You are a truly wonderful tour guide.
Thank you for coming and for adventure with me.
Panama Fact File. The national airport is the Tocumen International Airport in Panama City. Panama's flag carrier, Copper Airlines, connects Panama with the Americas, flying to over 80 destinations, including US cities such as New York, Chicago, Los Angeles and Miami. They also fly to Toronto and Montreal. There are currently no direct flights to Israel, but connections can be made with Air Europa, KLM, Air France, United, Iberia and through El Al codeshares. American, Delta and United also fly to Panama City from multiple US cities. To reach Boquete, copper fly internally from Tocumen to David International Airport. Getting from Tocumen Airport to the city centre takes around 20 minutes by car. The city's metro system has recently extended as far as the airport too. There are shuttle buses from the airport to the downtown, as well as taxis available at the entrance to the terminal. You can also use rideshare apps. Panama City has a metro, public buses and taxis. Uber is available as well. We stayed at the Waldorf Astoria Hotel in Panama City's financial district and the San Felipe Hotel in Casco Viejo. Most major luxury chains are represented here. For a touch of history, try the Central Hotel in Casco Viejo. Hotels in Boquete tend to be a mix of estate hotels and villa suites. We stayed at the Villa Alejandro close to Chabad. The currency in Panama is the Balboa, which is linked to the US dollar. Most shops accept US currency. Panama has a hot and humid tropical climate with a long rainy season from May to January and a short dry season from January to April. The climate of Boquete is cooler than that of the lowlands of Panama City. Panamanian cuisine is influenced by Spanish, African and indigenous flavors. Common ingredients include rice, beans, yucca, plantain, corn, meats and seafood. Sancocho is a chicken soup with yucca, plantain and root vegetables. Try the ropa vieja shredded beef in tomato sauce. Delicious.
There is no shortage of kosher cafes and restaurants in Panama City. Latest estimates are nearing 50 establishments. Details at kosher.com.pa. We visited Adama, Blame Kiki, Lula, Aria, Spice Market and Aroma, to name a few. There are also a plethora of kosher shops and supermarkets. Even in the mountains of Boquete, you can find kosher meals at Morton's Bakehouse. Chabad will deliver kosher meals to your hotel. Panama Kosher Vacations can plan a whole 100% kosher itinerary for your visit to Panama. Check them out on Google.
You're listening to the Jerusalem Post podcast travel edition. Find us on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter at MarkDavidPod, or mail us at markdavidpod@gmail.com. Sometime in the next few months, we're going to be playing you a very special episode of the podcast. It will be featuring an amazing husband and wife team, Hannah and Rabbi Yaakov Poliwada, who have made Boquete in Panama their home. They are a Chabad couple. We met them in Chabad House in the middle of this cloud forest. When we play the full episode, we'll tell you all about the community that they are building in this area, the mikveh that recently opened, the stunning synagogue, and perhaps more importantly, what motivates this very special husband and wife team. But because this is our Boquete episode from Panama, we thought we'd first play you a little excerpt to whet your appetite for what's to come.
We came to Boquete on a trip. We met the owners of Morton's, which is Morton and Barbara.
Morton's is a bakery and cafe.
And they told us, why don't you open up a Chabad house? And my wife and me were not very enthused. But the idea started sinking into my mind, at least. With time, it became a reality and we took the jump.
We were already settled in Panama City. We had a house, jobs, and it's like the leap of faith to see if it's going to work or not. I think at that moment, I didn't think it was going to be like a touristic attraction. There weren't so many Jews coming here. Even Panama City Jews weren't necessarily coming here. It was coming to see what was going to happen. It was just coming to see the local community. At that point, we thought it was 40 Jews. We were thinking about a cemetery, and that was basically it.
What's it like coming to somewhere where there are 40 Jews? How many of them were even Orthodox?
None of them were Orthodox. In fact, most of the people that are part of our community today will not identify themselves as such. I think the message or the idealism behind it was, even for one Jew, it's already worth it. That's not an idea that I made up, obviously. This permeates Chabad philosophy. It's one thing that it's philosophy, it's another thing to act upon it. And we were acting upon it, and that's maybe the scary thing about it. But yeah, there was really nobody even interested, I would say. Most people were coming here just running away. They were not looking for a community. In fact, they were leaving major Jewish centers like Chicago, New York, or you name it.
One of the key skills you obviously have acquired is running a bakehouse, running a catering business. How did you go about taking on an existing bakery, which was somebody's passion from when they retired, and turning it into what it is now, which is a really delightful cafe, restaurant in Boquete, and also start catering for all the hundreds and thousands of tourists that come into Boquete?
We met the owners years ago, Morton and Barbara. For them, it was a passion. When Morton passed away and Barbara had to leave to the United States, we saw it as an opportunity for us to offer kosher for all those that are here. It was successful within the boundaries of this town. People knew the bakery, and it wasn't necessarily Jews, actually. It wasn't Jews. And we just thought that, well, most of the recipes are technically kosher, even though the place wasn't. It was very easy to transform it into a kosher establishment. A little bit with, I would say, passion and vision and a lot of dedication and constance, we actually started developing that business from being just a bake shop to a full-fledged restaurant, cafe, and to the point And a lot of these things are blessings that come along your way, but to the point that we even started shipping our products to Panama City. They were so yummy that people actually, and healthy actually, that people were ordering, and we are still sending practically on a daily basis to Panama City.
We happened to be in the cafe this morning, and the delightful waiting service, I mean, they really are lovely, sweet people with genuine smiles, said to us, oh, by the way, in here you'll see is our new lunchtime menu. So can you whet the appetites of listeners who might be in this region and tell us the type of foods that you offer? And it's not just your standard Chabad pizza.
Definitely not. First of all, there's all the things that we've grown up with. I'm from Venezuela, my wife is from Brazil, I have Moroccan background. There's so many dishes that we even serve here at Chabad that are from our heritage, and a lot of those we've incorporated them into the menu. At the same time, a lot of the people that work at the bakery have experience in different cuisines, and I don't feel comfortable serving something in my shop that I myself will not enjoy. I'm not just trying to get by or making sure people have something kosher to eat and move on. I really want it to be something that is delightful, and I think we've striven towards that goal every time, innovating and trying to make the best out of it. The best ingredients. My wife is constantly behind getting the best stuff from Panama City and making sure the chef has what he's ordering, and we're not trying to trim any of the expenses just because we want to save a couple of cents. We really want to make the full experience the way it should be.
Do you have a website? Do you have an email? What's the best way for people to contact you?
Our website is up, chabadboquete.com. Our contact information is there. You can also see our more active site is our Instagram.
And that's also Chabad Boquete?
Chabad Boquete, yes. Okay.
You have all the contacts through there. You can reach us through WhatsApp. The number is on the websites as well.
So that's Chabad Boquete, ChabadBoquete.
To talk the latest news in Israel, the Jewish world, and everything in between.
This is the J-Post Podcast. I'm Tamar Uriel-Beery, Deputy Editor-in-Chief of the Jerusalem Post.
And I'm Tzvika Klein, Editor-in-Chief of the Jerusalem Post.
And I'm Sarah Ben-Nun, Night Editor at the Jerusalem Post. Join us as we bring some of the most impactful voices to bring you into what it means to be Jewish, to be Israeli today.
Every week, we bring you with us into the newsroom in every sense.
Stop being so dramatic. This is just our coffee break.
You can find us every Thursday on jpost.com, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
We'll see you there.
Yalla, bye.
We've been in Boquete for a day, looking for the rare quetzal in the wilderness, a colourful bird. But I think I found a quetzal finally.
So let's very quietly approach the nest, not make a sound, and let's hear if we can get just a slight bird call.
Hello, my name is Quetzal Montenegro, and welcome to Boquete Bees and Butterflies.
Slightly bigger and more educated than the one that they had in the brochure.
He's also got a curlier, wavier plumage on top of his head, and he wears glasses.
Slightly less colourful, sadly. Quetzal is our guide for the next 15-20 minutes, and will tell us all about little creatures.
We're going to start in the world of bees. Before we talk about the bees, how did you get into this in the first place?
I've always loved biology, nature, ecology. I would just watch videos all day as a kid about biology and read books and such. My dad has worked here for a few years, working in the butterfly house, and they're like, hey, we could use someone to work in the butterfly house, help out with the lab and everything. So I'm like, hey, what's up? So I started working in the lab and also reception over here. And little by little, they needed more tour guides to do the full tour, which we're doing now, which is teaching people about bees, about butterflies, and about honey. So I just started learning how to be a tour guide and, improvised and just started studying up on everything about bees, butterflies, hummingbirds. Hummingbirds, yeah, we have a lot of hummingbirds here. And honey, and just, fell in love with the subject. Bees are one of the most complex organisms here on Earth, so I love teaching people about them.
Why are we not wearing nice big white outfits and walking around with smokers?
Here in our farm, we actually keep a species of bee, or multiple species, that are native to Panama, and they're known as stingless bees or melaponines. These are bees that have been here in Latin America for a very long time, and they are native. They don't sting because they live inside of hollow tree logs instead of the classic honeycomb that normal apis bees, which are the ones that we usually think about when we think of bees, European honeybees, Africanized bees, which are the ones we have here, also known as killer bees. And that's why we're not wearing the suits, because we don't have to worry about that at all with these. These are very chill, friendly bees. Unless you really bother them, they might bite you, but other than that, that's why we keep them. We keep them because they are native to the environment. They help pollinate all the plants we grow here on the farm, and not a lot of people know about them, especially here in Panama, even though people live with them. So we just educate people about how to take care of them.
You have out beyond this area the killer bees where there's more of the mass production. But what are people going to see when they visit this farm?
In the case of the bees, we offer people a walk around a beautiful farm. There's coffee, there's over 100 species of native plants, ornamental plants. We show people some of the hives that we keep of these stingless bees. So we don't show them the Africanized bees because it would be too dangerous to go into those areas. We teach people about the stingless bees instead. So you can expect a nice, lovely walk around the farm, cool info about the stingless bees, everything you need to know about them, how they live, what they help with in the environment, the honey that they make, the people who would take care of them. It's something that's being studied a lot more nowadays. A lot of biologists are beginning to discover new things about stingless bees that weren't known before. So we are just happy to share that knowledge with people.
We've been learning a little bit about your job. The bees within the hives all have their individual roles within the hive. Can you tell us a little bit about the different types of jobs and types of bees that there are within the stingless bee community?
The stingless bees are some of the only bees in the world that live in this way. It's called eusociality, which is where there's usually just one individual who is known as the queen who lays all of the eggs. She's the only one who is allowed to lay eggs, and pretty much all her daughters, could be thousands of them, work for her and for each other. And it's something that some people call the spirit of the hive, where the one rule is work or you die. So if a bee doesn't do its job, it's going to be killed by the other bees. If the queen doesn't do her job, she'll be killed by her daughters, the workers, and replaced with a new queen. It's kind of like a brutal society, but they do that to survive, and they kind of function as a single organism. So the worker bees take up most of the population of the hive. They're all female. As they age, they just switch jobs. So no one really knows exactly how they know what to do. It's like ingrained in their DNA, but depending on the necessity of the hive or their age, they'll do everything from cleaning, building, making honey, protecting the hive, going out to collect resources. Yeah, usually the harder jobs are doing at the end, the guards and the foragers, because if they die, at least they did everything they had to first inside of the hive. So it's just this constant rotation of different aged worker bees switching jobs and doing different roles around the hive.
Tell us about the world-famous Mayan bouncer bee.
Oh yeah, so that's one of the stingless bees we have here. They're known as Melipona beachy, and this was one of the first species of stingless bee kept by humans about 1,000 years ago by the Mayan civilization. And they considered these bees to be very sacred to their culture. They would get hallucinogenic honey from them. It's quite cute because one of the guard bees stays outside the hole that's their entrance and exit, and she just stays there and lets the other bees in and out, and doesn't let bees that don't belong to the colony in. So she looks like a little bouncer just staying there all day long.
The Mayan bees are probably the most brutal of all of them when it comes to society. You were telling us about the queens and what happens to all the queens?
So this is actually the way that almost all species of stingless bee choose their queen. Unlike honeybees, where it's been very documented, where the bees produce a substance called royal jelly to feed to some of the babies to become queens, so they can do it whenever they need one. They don't have all these extra queens laying around. The stingless bees do. Every day, just genetically, some of the queens are born. Unless they need one, they'll pick out one of the healthiest looking ones, and the rest are discarded. The guards look for and kill every single queen that they find. They rip them apart, they throw them out of the hives, left for dead. Very rarely they'll imprison them and keep them alive in case they need to replace their current queen. Only if the queen dies and they have to replace her, or if they're swarming, which is when they take a queen and they move somewhere else to build a new hive. That's when they will leave one of them to survive.
It sounds like the inspiration for Game of Thrones.
As if the colours of the plants the movement and intricacies of the life of the bees were not enough, on this farm you get the opportunity to be up close and personal with another part of nature, butterflies.
Welcome to the butterfly house. Here we keep multiple species of native butterfly that are just flying around all over the place, and here's where they lay their eggs that someone comes to then collect and take care of the caterpillars in little nurseries until they become adults. So we're just taking care of all the butterflies in here in safe environments. We show people a little bit of a small exhibit with some of the caterpillars at Chrysalis. You can learn a lot about their life cycle, which we all pretty much know and love, but you'll learn that every single species of butterfly is a little bit different. They all look different depending on their environment, their threats. So there are a lot of extremely beautiful, unique species in here.
Are any of the species native to Panama?
All these species are native to Panama, Latin America. We even have subspecies that reach up to North America, South America. Panama, for a while, not quite sure if they still refer to it as this, but the theory for the origin of the word Panama used to be abundance of butterflies and fish, because we have thousands of species of butterflies because of just the vast diversity of plants, the weather, temperatures. They just love it here. So we have a few endemic species only found here in Panama, but here in the butterfly house we keep some of the more common but beautiful ones.
We're inside, we're not out in the environment. Yesterday David and I were walking around Boquete seeing small butterflies. Here there are hundreds of different beautiful coloured butterflies. The blues that you see, the reds as they fly around you, it's just stunning. How many butterflies are in this butterfly house, and how many different breeds of butterfly are here?
There's at least about 300, 400 adult butterflies flying around here. We keep around 15 different species of butterfly.
Are there predatory butterflies? Will some of the butterflies maybe take over the other breeds in the same way that the bees do?
Butterflies are pretty pacifist with each other. The males tend to chase each other around over territory, but they can't hurt each other. They don't fight. They just all go to flowers. They get drunk all day off fermented fruits, and they reproduce. They spend 6 hours reproducing at a time, and they'll just go around laying eggs everywhere. So they live a pretty chill, easygoing, but short life compared to the bees.
It's like a microcosm of real life for men.
Alright, so welcome to the honey tasting. Here I have set out about 15 different flavors of honey that we get from the different farms where we keep the Africanized bees. So since these are very dangerous bees, we can't keep them too close to people, so we rent out the space in a couple of different beautiful locations around the province. These are natural ecosystems where the bees will just be going to whatever flowers they have available. And you might know this or not, but the flavor of honey is very influenced by the flowers that the bees go to. Now, we don't control which flowers the bees will visit, so we will get different flavors of honey every single time we go and harvest. We can't control it. We get one flavor this year, next year it's completely different, and we don't know which flowers they went to. So we just harvest the honey, and we all sit down as a team, we taste test the honeys, and we come up with names for them. So if one of them tastes like butter, we might call it buttercup, or if one of them tastes like fruit, we call it fruit punch. And we will just start selling that one specific harvest at the store. Now, of course, we do want to have at least one honey that is consistent, stays the same. So we blend a few of these together to create the traditional or classic honey, which is just like a standard blend, general flavor of honey. But all of the other ones are these very unique, rare, varietal honeys, as we call them, from all the different microclimates we have here in Chiriquí, in this province. So it's quite beautiful because you can see the honeys as a physical representation of the ecosystem where the bees were at that very specific moment in time. So yeah, these are all kosher honeys. They're all completely natural. We don't edit these. We don't cook them. Fully raw honeys, super good for you. We also have a few honeys which are infused, where we do blend something in with those. However, for some of you, those won't be considered kosher because they weren't supervised by Mashliach. However, we do have some batches that are sold at Morton's Bakehouse that are supervised, and those are kosher. So if you want some kosher infused honeys, you should visit Morton's Bakehouse. If you want to taste the infusions, if you want to book a tour with us, just let us know and we'll set up the infusions. But if you observe kosher, we'll set up all of our beautiful varietal honeys for you.
Just explain a little bit about how a tasting works, and then we'll do what we always do with alcohols, what we did with the coffee, is that we'll do one tasting that we record, and then we'll go through the tasting, without the recording.
Let's start off with our traditional honey first. It's our classic standard flavor. You see these little sticks in front of you. You're going to just dip one of the ends of the stick into the honey and go ahead and taste it. And after you use that end, just throw the stick out in the brown bag and grab a new one for the next honey. So this is our classic blend.
Mark, you always go first. Go for it.
That is good. Very sweet.
It's honey.
It's very natural. Also tastes quite kosher.
It's a very light colour. Yes, this is exactly what I remember as a kid on Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish New Year, when my mum and dad would cut the apple and you put some honey on it. This is exactly that taste.
You've got a row with about 15 honeys in front of you, and they're all different colours. And behind you, there are charts with colours and perfumes. How does the colour change with each of these honeys?
Of course, the color of the actual honey does change quite a bit depending on the flowers they go to. We can have very light colored honeys and very dark honeys, and sometimes the darker the honey, it tends to be a bit more medicinal, more antioxidants, but really all these are really good for you, and the darker honeys tend to have stronger flavors. You're referring to the color of the labels that we put on. We have a little chart, it's like a wheel full of words to describe the flavor of the honey. Kind of subjective, it depends on the person what flavors you'll taste, but we'll just kind of find a general flavor profile. So we say, oh, this one tastes more floral, or this tastes more fruity or woody. The color on the jar, on the little label, just signifies where on that wheel, on that chart, is the honey, which flavor profile it's on. So we have some yellow honeys, yellow colored labels, which are in our sugar section, which are creamy, sweet, just kind of classic tasting honeys. Those are quite subtle in difference, but they're all delicious honeys that can be used for anything. We have some purple profile honeys, which are more floral, pink profile, which are more kind of sweet, fruity honeys, very tropical. We even have one called banana, I'd like you guys to taste. And some orange profile honeys, which are more citric, more acidic. Blue honeys are quite interesting. They're very bitter, very strong, more savory flavors, not really what you expect honey to taste like. And green honeys, which are very woody or herbal. So yeah, pretty much something for everyone here.
What does that one say? Caramel bear.
Well, as we have already heard, the names are made up by the team depending on what they think it's similar to.
How many bears do you know that are made of caramel? Or is that like a sweet in Panama and it tastes like it?
I'm going to call you literally Mark.
That's because I am literally called Mark.
Okay, do you have a favourite honey, Mark?
I've only had 5 of them so far, so you're going to have to give me another hour and a half, and then we can go on to the mead and the wine. Oh, sorry. The first one was good because I had a clear palate. The liquid gold, which is also, I think it's a blend. Am I correct? Is it a blend?
Liquid gold, like all the other ones, it's single harvest. So we went, let's say, this March, for example, we got all the honey from the bees in that one specific area, and we put it all in jars. So that's liquid gold. So it's just from one location.
Sorry, I wasn't listening. But no, I like the liquid gold. And if I have to really pick a favourite, it's the banana.
This has been an amazing experience. Beautiful place, right on the edge of town. We are in Boquete. I realise that your ability to distinguish between different tastes of honey is like your ability to distinguish between different tastes of coffee.
If not worse now, because having done the coffee tasting, everything still tastes of coffee a day later.
Utterly confused. The one thing we don't want to be confused about is how people can find out more about this incredible farm. Is there a website with all the details?
Our website is natureboquete.com. It's still under construction, so the easiest way to book a tour with us is simply by texting us on WhatsApp at +507 644-646-5654. I repeat, that's 644-646-5654.
You listen to radio shows where they repeat phone numbers.
Exactly.
Quetzal, thank you for showing us around this amazing place, for bringing me near bees and butterflies and things that I would never normally do, but mainly for filling me full of lovely sweet honey.
Thank you. It's been my pleasure.
The chairs here are quite funky. They're tartan, and embroidered on the back are some pictures of foxes with monocles.
We've opened a fine rosé from the Pays-d'Oc region of southeastern France.
To stand in front of the Birth of Venus by Botticelli and just take it in.
Turning their backs on these magnificent architectural wonders, and all they want to do is have that Instagram moment.
I listened to the guide for 2 minutes while I was on Wikipedia.
You're listening to the Jerusalem Post podcast travel edition with Mark Gordon and David Harris.
I'm sad, David. You're laughing at me. I'm even sadder.
You're sad because we're leaving. I'll put it to you the other way, that the experience we've had, and it's only been 48 hours, but the experience we've had is something so positive, so wonderful, that it's going to stay with you for many years.
When I originally saw Boquete on our itinerary, firstly, I had to go and find it on a map.
Mm-hmm.
Second, when I saw what we were doing in Boquete, I was filled with fear because it involved climbing up lots of mountains and zip lining and all sorts of other things, which unfortunately I was too big for.
But what we did do was absolutely phenomenal. You know, seeing a coffee plantation way up in the sky, 6,000 feet, and you're looking across a plantation, there's a volcano in the distance, there's a superb guide. It's just wonderful.
A couple of things will stick with me. One, and it's a really small thing, is seeing an armadillo cross the road. I mean, it sounds like a joke, but it just brought to life how different Boquete is, the colourful eucalyptus trees, the different vegetation, the vultures, all the different animals. Just seeing that little armadillo, though, like really brought it home. The other thing was the amazing work of the Polywada family in making Boquete accessible to kosher travellers and Jews who are living in the community.
And the staff that they have hired who are not Jewish, who run that incredible bakery, Morton's Bakehouse. Just a lovely, lovely place. And as we've said, totally surprising to find all of this in a tropical cloud forest.
A few thank yous, David. Firstly, big thank you to Promptor, also known as Visit Panama, all the wonderful people who've helped us there, especially Salo and Salo. And thank you to JPR Public Relations and the team there who helped organise the trip.
And as you've already said, Yaakov and Hannah, the Polywadas, and the guide that we had, Sergio, and the driver, Orlando, who just a dream come true. And Orlando doesn't speak English, and we're embarrassed to say we don't speak Spanish. But thanks to translation online and just body language and friendship, we really, really had a special relationship.
Gracias, David.
No idea.
De nada.
Okay, no, sorry.
A big thank you to Ceci and the team at Panama Kosher Vacations who organised the trip for us, especially Marie Cruz, Varelis and everybody else in the office who've had to put up with us.
If you've enjoyed this podcast, and in fact, if you would like more details on the kosher offering and in general tourist life in Boquete, do reach out to us. There's two ways to do it: at Mark David Pod across social media, or mail us markdavidpod@gmail.com.
If you enjoyed the podcast, give us a 5-star rating, share the podcast with your friends, subscribe. It's worth it because we've got even more podcasts about Panama and other places in the world coming up.
Okay, before we go, Mark, do you remember the question that you posed way back yesterday?
Da-da-da-da.
So what was the question?
The question was about a famous composer who was obsessed with coffee. So much so that, anecdote would have it, he would count out 60 coffee beans for every cup of coffee and then recount them.
Andrew Lloyd Webber?
No.
Give up.
Beethoven.
Ah.
It's anecdotal, but there are lots of notes that Beethoven had written, especially about
Haydn, a fellow composer, and it mentions coffee in lots of them.
There you go. Folks, join us the next time on the Jerusalem Post Podcast Travel Edition.
I might not be there, though, because I think I'm going to stay in Boquete. It's so lovely.